Hi, I'm Lee from LA.Guitar, and today I thought we'd take a look at the Boss GX10. The Boss GX10 is a brand new multi-effects unit from Boss. I'd go so far as to say it's more than just a multi-effects, it's actually a full modeler, and it's the smaller version of the GX100, which was released a few years ago. I'm a great fan of Boss gear, as viewers of this channel will already know my love for the Boss IR2. And I think the GX10 just kind of extends that a bit further really. Gives you some great amp sounds, great effects, and all in a very compact package. So what I intend to do is to do a run of GX10 videos, showing you an overview of the sounds, the amp models that are inside it, the effects, and also some tips and tricks that you can use. So one thing that a lot of people say compared to the bigger GX100 is there aren't enough foot switches on the smaller modelers such as the GX10 because it only comes with 3. And I'm going to show you how you can maybe get the best out of those 3 foot switches when you're in a gigging situation. I have actually gigged with this GX10 live and it sounds great and it suits my needs well. It gives me a whole range of sounds that I need. I thought I'd concentrate on a couple of sounds I have set up in the GX10, one of which is just an all-purpose clean channel, and it sounds a bit like this. So that's the X-Crunch amp. I'm a big fan of the X-Crunch amp. I think it sounds really great. If you keep the gain down fairly low, you can get some great sounds out of that amp. I've also got some delay and reverb happening in the DAW in post-production, just to add a bit of ambience. So I use this sound for most of my clean sounds. And just occasionally, for a few songs, I need a chorus sound. Now, if you're using the unit in preset mode, which I do, so I have presets set up for clean, boosted, clean, overdrive, lead sounds, all on separate presets. You might be thinking that you had to set up another preset for a chorus sound. And you don't necessarily have to do that. You can use the control switch to bring in and out other effects as you're using the GX10. So I'll show you what I mean. If we navigate to our palette of effects at the top here, and we come across and find a chorus sound. So you've got 2, you've got chorus and chorus prime. I would tend to always go for the prime sounds, only because the sound quality is going to be a bit better. And what we do is we just drag it into our chain. So now we have a chorus sound. I'll just turn that effect level down a bit. It's just a little bit much for me. About 70 is probably about right. Yeah, that sounds really good. But at the moment, of course, it's on all the time. So what we can do is we can tell the GX10 to only switch that chorus sound in and out when we press the control switch. And the way in which we do that is, first of all, start with the effect turned off. And then we go to our menu, control expression, and we set up an assign. So as you can see, we've got various assigns which we can do within the preset. So it's automatically on number 1. So we just make sure that that's switched on. As we can see, the little green, the box goes green. Now the source is which switch or you know, out of all the switches on the front is going to affect this assign to be activated. So we want to navigate to control 1. Control 1, there we go. Do we want it momentary or toggle on and off? We want it to toggle on and off. Now, which sound do we actually want it to affect? We want it to affect, and as you can see, it's moving through our chain at the top here. We want it to affect the chorus, which was the blue one. There we go, prime chorus. and the parameter is already on off. So now essentially what that is doing is it will turn the chorus on and off when we hit our control switch. So we can just save that, hitting the right button 3 times. And now if we go back to our effects chain, as you can see, the chorus is switched off at the moment. And if we press the control switch, on comes the chorus. The other sound that I've got saved in here is what I've called clean boost. And that's essentially just a little, it's the same as the previous sound, fairly clean. But what I've done is I've boosted up the gain on the amp to give us a bit more of a rock and roll sort of sound. And that sounds really great to my ears, and I use that sound for an awful lot of my rhythm playing on my gigs. But what you might find is that sometimes you just want a bit more extra overdrive and a bit more extra dirt added to that. And a great way you can do that in the GX10 is by adding an overdrive pedal. Now, as you can see from our effects chain here, I've got one set up. I've got the Boss called the Centaur, which I'm guessing is a bit of a clone. Sounds really great to my ears. And I've put it in the chain here, just in front of the amp, as you can see. It's off at the moment, but if we switch it on, this is what it sounds like with it kicked in. But again, we don't necessarily want that sound on all of the time. So again, we go to our menu, control expression, go to our assigns, turn on assign number 1, specify that it's control switch number 1, it's set to toggle already, and again keeping an eye on our effects chain at the top of the screen there, it'll work through, so wah, noise suppressor, overdrive, there we are, the yellow one, on off is already selected. Excellent, so we just hit right 3 times, and if we go back to our effects chain, you'll notice that overdrive is currently off. But when we hit the control switch, now when I've used this sound live, one thing I have noticed is that there is a distinct volume jump. You don't necessarily hear it at quiet volumes like this, but certainly in a live situation where everything is turned up pretty loud, you'll notice that there is a real big volume jump when you turn that overdrive on. Now, I'm quite a stickler for volumes and making sure that my volumes are all perfectly level and as they should be. And I don't necessarily want a volume jump when I switch my overdrive pedal on. I want it to get crunchier, I don't necessarily want it to get louder. I've got other settings for when I want a loud sound. And again, the GX10 can help you out with the assigns. And what you can do is something a little bit clever here. So if we go to the amp, which is the X crunch, you'll notice that we've got various parameters here. And one of them is level, which acts a little bit like a master volume on an amp. It's not quite the same. It won't be affecting any sort of power amp distortion or anything like that. But obviously it just affects the level up and down. Now what we can say is to the GX10, when we switch that overdrive pedal on, we also want the volume to come down just a little bit, just to compensate for the extra volume you're getting from the overdrive pedal. And the way in which we do that is very simple again. We go to our menu, control expression, assign, and then if we move down, so we've already got our assign for the overdrive pedal happening there. So if we come down to a second one, switch it on, and again we want it to happen when we hit the overdrive. So again it's control number 1, again it's a toggle, we want it to be you know, one setting when you press the pedal and another setting when you press the pedal again. And we want to come across to our amp, which is the red one. It's our preamp. Now, parameter at the moment defaults to on off. We don't want to switch it off. All we want to do is we want to affect the level. So we come across to level. Now, if you press the arrow keys, you get some more options. So the act low and act high is essentially how quickly you want that change to happen. Well, we want this change to be instantaneous. So we want to set it to the minimum setting of 0 and the maximum setting of 127. But also we need to tell the GX10 to do the volume drop. So what we do for minimum is we set our minimum to whatever your volume setting is when the overdrive is not on. In my case that was 50. But when the overdrive is on and the button is pressed, we want it to drop the volume just below 50. Say 47. So we hit right 3 times to save that. Okay, so now we've saved those settings. If we go to the clean boosted sound just on its own, we get this. But now when we press the control switch, the overdrive comes on. And also if you keep an eye on the amp level, which is on knob number 3 there, when the overdrive comes on, the level drops to our setting of 47. So we get more of an even volume across the two sounds rather than the volume going up when the overdrive pedal comes on. There you go. A few little tricks and tips there on how to use the GX10 and its control switch assigns. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I say, I'm going to do a few more videos on the GX10, so make sure you hit like and subscribe and you'll be notified when the next video goes out. My name's Lee and I'll see you next time.